And we are back.
No.
So, as you exit the keep through the now unlocked main gates, you cross a large stone bridge to the other side of the chasm and continue on your journey. So, as we proceed, Arya, I presume you are leading the group.
Probably.
I would like you to make me a extended nature check.
Wow.
Okay.
Pretty good.
So, with that, I guess I'm going to say you spend the rest of the day travelling through the mountains until the ground begins to level out as you approach the edge of your, or approach the edge of the mountain range. However, in your day's travel, you do not discover any fresh water. So, unless you have a way of creating some water.
I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And technically it means we have food as well. Huzzah!
Okay, so you don't need to expend a ration for today.
Okay.
But you now have enough water.
Is that enough food to feed all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Sustain
believe it's something.
15 humanoids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jesus.
OP food spell.
Yeah, enough to sustain 15 humanoids or 5
15?
steeds for 24 hours.
Jesus.
The food is bland, but not.
I
It
hope
doesn't
so.
taste of much. Also, the water never goes bad.
But if you
Like
have,
hardtack.
Oh.
yeah, if you have prestidigitation, I think you can make it actually flavored, or thaumaturgy, one of the two. I think no, I think it's presti.
It's press.
Prestidigitation, isn't it?
You see, it says the food spoils after 24 hours, but apparently the water never goes bad.
Yes.
I mean, how the fuck? Well, okay, that's not true. Water
Water
can't go
lasts forever.
Water lasts pretty long.
Yes.
No, because it says specifically the water doesn't spoil. So the water will last until you drink it.
back. Okay.
Yes. Somehow I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah, I don't think it would be.
So, presumably, as the, well, I was going to say as the sun sets, but there doesn't ever seem to be a sunrise or a sunset. As the low light in the sky begins to get even darker,
As it gets even darker than it already has been.
I presume you guys will set up camp as per usual.
Yeah.
I'm going to roll some dice. Okay. Okay. So you set up camp as per usual. And as you, yeah, I guess you finish your meal. You set up camp, and as you're doing so, a strange shadow floats overhead. I'd like everybody to make me a perception check.
There it is.
Okay. Arya and Vondal, as you look up and sort of observe what this is flying in the dim light above you, you catch sight of a winged scaled form that swoops overhead. It's difficult to make out at this distance, but you can make me nature checks with disadvantage.
Sure don't have advantage?
No.
Damn.
That's not bad.
Disadvantage.
For disadvantage, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
Disadvantage, that is bad.
Vondal, to you, the form looks vaguely draconic in nature, but you couldn't really make it out.
Okay.
Looks at camera.
Yeah, it swoops overhead and it basically seems to just to fly up the valley, sort of like in the direction that you're headed.
Can I, like, check my Pokedex for dragon types?
No.
No.
I mean, that's clearly the Chimera, right? Like,
Chimeras aren't dragons. They just have the head of
No,
They're
that
not
is
fully dragons.
he is 100% correct.
what?
Chimeras just have the head of a dragon. They're
Yes,
not
this thing
actually
did not
dragons.
have 3 heads. It had a long, scaly neck and wings.
That's
Unlike
suspicious.
any creature you've ever seen before, it seemed draconic in nature, but that was your only assessment.
Out of character, my suspicion is a wyvern. Because they are dragons.
I mean, there are a lot of different sort of dragon-like things.
I'm just
Wyverns,
slightly metagaming my
worms.
out-of-character thought. Yeah, I'm
Drakes.
slightly metagaming my out-of-character thought.
Drakes.
Thinking, at
Although
our
actually,
dragon-like things
worms
would
and
be-
drakes both don't have wings. So,
Yeah. I'm thinking wyverns. Because we're in a valley. That's where
So
wyverns
we're
tend to
gonna
hang out.
fight our first dragon.
Yeah, you never know.
well, you're not fighting it now, that's for sure, because it swoops,
Well, hell no.
swoops overhead, soars down the valley, and disappears.
But yeah, it's not a chimera.
Or you should roll for the
Chimeras
others.
have a lion body.
Oh, okay. Okay. As this figure swoops overhead, do you voice your opinions, Vondal?
I mean, I'm not Would I even know what they are? Because like I said, like those
Well,
are all-
no. What I'm saying is, do you voice
Oh, right, yeah,
the
yeah,
details
so
that you've
front of the
seen?
head and then it's draconic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like once
Um,
it's disappeared.
Yeah, in that case, Lysatus muses for a few moments and says, hold on, I need to actually check to make sure that I don't tell you the wrong thing. Duh, 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 duh. Okay, yeah. From her assessment, Lysatus says either a wyvern, a young dragon, or where's the other one? Okay, yeah. Either a wyvern, a young dragon, or an elemental drake.
What's that?
So yes, that is what you observe.
Hooray.
It's not ominous at all.
I don't see that possibly
No,
coming
not
back
at
to
all.
bite us in the ass in the near future.
Literally.
It'll probably
Oh,
bite you in the
already-
face. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
All of those things are far more likely to bite us
So-
in the face.
Camp, long rest,
Yes.
despair checks.
Somewhere with overhead cover.
Yes. Yes, very easy to do.
And also, like,
Hey, don't forget that daylight.
Oh yeah, can you still cast
I'm gonna
daylight
cast-
after doing
yeah,
the
I'm gonna
food?
Cast daylight. Which
Okay.
is my last third level spell slot of the day.
Casting daylight.
I'm
Okay.
casting daylight.
My internet
It's
chat.
gonna
a
serve
little
as our
bit.
campfire.
Ah.
Well, it doesn't act as a campfire because I don't believe it creates heat.
No.
Oh.
it doesn't.
So you could have to have a campfire and the daylight.
It's just
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's some really bad rolls for the NPCs.
Oh, we're doing end of day rolls.
End of day rolls.
I see.
I think I fucked up.
Oh, I fucked up.
No.
I'm screaming.
I'm screaming.
Both of you.
Yeah, Vondal and V
Okay.
both fail.
Ah, my internet is like.
I'm on
shitting
4.
itself.
Oh.
Hold on, I need to. There's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be. Arya fails as well. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of despair going
Damn it.
around.
Oh my god.
Which means that we all have to make another one.
Oh god, yes, that is a lot of failures.
Oh god. No.
Guys,
We're all
fuck's
losing
sake.
it.
Okay, so
I have 6 fucking despair points right now.
we'll start with the player characters first.
Oh.
Do.
Oh my god. Hate despair.
Uh,
I'm not enjoying this at all.
So
Okay.
if I get to 10, am I just like permanently scarred for life?
you'll have to find out.
I know
think
we
Or
don't
ten's
just
know.
die.
worse than that. No, I think 10's worse than that. And I think it's worse than death. Honestly.
Okay, so Vondal, you settle down to go to sleep. And when you go to sleep, you enter the deepest sleep that you have ever experienced. So much so that you cannot be woken for basically the entire night.
Oh, lovely.
So nothing can wake you.
Good night, guys.
I'm off.
V.
Yeah?
Okay, that result doesn't work.
What?
That's worrying.
Oh, it's a result that it doesn't work because she's basically already going to be unconscious.
Oh.
No.
I think that should
What?
count
That's
as
bullshit.
a,
You didn't give Illyrian another roll when he was blind for like.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would have had implications if something had happened.
Nah, that's cheating. I'm calling cheating. Hacks.
Cheats. Mad hacks. Mad hacks. That should just count as a nothing.
Okay, fine, it counts as a nothing then.
As us being lucky. That's
Guys,
us being lucky.
please.
Let us be lucky every now and then.
I mean, I thought you wanted Happy Story Fun Time, but sure. I guess I'll just roll Arya's instead then.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
just fuck me up the ass 'cause I know that's happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ferrous. Yes, I do want happy story fun time.
Okay.
What we're getting here is the opposite of happy. This is anything but. This is tragic.
It's just tragic.
This is just pain.
Okay, Arya, you must spend at least the next 20 minutes screaming, laughing, or crying.
Oh god.
Well,
Oh,
given
wait, you
everything
get a
else-
choice.
Yeah, I get a choice. Can I do
Yeah.
a combination?
Scream crying.
Oh god.
I mean, like, tell me a story about why it happens.
Oh gosh. I mean, there's a lot of things. Sob like a baby right now. so
Yeah.
she just gets overwhelmed.
You are filled with a crippling, like, existential despair.
Yep.
And
I just start crying.
you cry for your lost love and
Yep.
many other things. Lysatus. Lysatus. Wow. Okay. So actually, technically, that means Lysatus is technically unconscious instead of meditating. Zale.
How many is Zale on?
Zell's on 4.
It was on 5 now. I was like, no.
Okay, so Zale mutters in his sleep for most of the night, which fortunately doesn't disturb the person that he's sharing a tent with because she rolled unconscious on her thing instead of meditating.
Fantastic.
So, fortunately for you, both Lysatis and Zale's effects have no effect on you. Vondal, you do not need to roll another despair check because you can't bear witness to Arya having a small cry to herself.
A small cry.
A small cry.
But
It's a bit bigger than that.
okay, so V and Kelariis, your sleep is disturbed by Arya basically crying. So you need to make me another test.
Don't fail this, V, or you'll be on fire.
But I will let you have a little role play as well if you want.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's a fail.
I'm leaving the room.
Okay.
Oh my god, another one.
Oh, man.
So, Kelariis, what are you on now?
I'm on 4.
You're on 4. Okay, so I need to roll for you as well.
Oh, joy.
Okay. You basically are you're sort of haunted with sort of like imaginary threats. And you are essentially frightened of anything and everything that happens in the night. Which it doesn't really mean anything because I didn't roll anything on the random encounter table, so nothing's going to happen to you while you're camping. But yes, it's essentially you have a very fitful night's sleep because you keep waking up to things that you're afraid of. I should technically roll for Illa and Simone again. Okay, it's a pass. That is also a pass. Only just, though. Oh yes, I need to roll a long term for V. Okay, wow.
I'm on 5, so you have to roll on the big table.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so now I need to roll to see how long that lasts. Wait, hang on, that doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, we'll do that with a d6 instead. Okay. I will whisper you with this.
Oh no.
Guys, no.
I hereby ban expeditions unnecessarily into castles that aren't castles that contain our target.
Yeah, you should be able to look that up in the compendium to see what that actually does.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna say because of what I rolled on those tests, Kelariis, you are too afraid to leave your tent to go and see what Arya is up to. So I will leave it up to V and Arya to roleplay if they want to about Arya basically very loudly sobbing in the middle of the night.
Okay.
I mean,
She's crying.
Arya's not gonna say anything.
I'm just gonna sit next to Arya, quietly.
Okay. Arya, you try and put on a tough face, but you just can't.
Just crying. Been through a lot of shit.
I don't know what to say. V doesn't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything.
Actions speak
I mean, nothing speaks louder than when you're fucking whispering, Kev.
louder. Actions speak louder than words.
Guess I just sort of rub Arya's back.
Oh, thanks, my spirit buddy. That I don't. And if I
I know it doesn't
Cool.
count as, like, people in a relationship, like, having a moment together, but I can be your spirit buddy.
yep,
Having a
be my
moment.
spirit buddy.
You are soulmates.
I don't know about soulmates. We're definitely soul bound.
Same thing.
Besides, I only cried for 20 minutes. It's not like
Yeah.
excessive.
I mean, it's 20
20 minutes pretty
20
long.
minutes
I
of
mean-
pretty solid crying.
Yeah, that's still pretty excessive.
Yeah.
I used to cry a lot, and I'd never cried for longer than 5 minutes.
This is like- this is-
Quite a lot.
This is like proper traumatized crying.
Also, you laugh. I did used to cry a lot.
It's okay, Gab Sam. I don't know. You know, he's not really the type of person who talks about her feelings.
Really, you don't say.
God, yeah, we never want to figure that one out.
I mean, I know that will come as a surprise to some of you.
I mean, V can literally just look at you and sense what is wrong.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, you also haven't, like, ever explained away why you spent an entire night with a ghost.
Hmm.
So, do you want to do that? V?
What, since how she's
I mean,
feeling?
you can literally sense how she's feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me an insight check with advantage. And I'm going to say, because you're crying, you can make no opposed check against this.
Wow.
Yeah, she is, like, really, really, really upset, and you've just got this oddly certain feeling that it's about the ghost that you met.
Wait, didn't V figure out that I was in love with him?
No. Lysatus and Simone told V that he loved you, but I don't think V ever saw the aftermath of you, like, spending the whole night with him.
Alright.
But V could quite easily make the deduction. Knowing that now you are crying about him.
Or my internet could die.
Yeah.
Rip.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I said I'm not sure what to say as long as she's crying.
Well, eventually she does stop.
After exactly 20 minutes, in fact.
So exactly 20 minutes.
It's like 20 minutes stops, and you're just like, okay, I'm done.
Alright, I'm good.
Just starts
Really good,
meditating.
guys.
Gives me just gonna be like, is everything okay?
Can I just give her a look like, what the fuck do you think?
She definitely doesn't look okay.
Yeah. I hope you can go home soon.
I so hope so. This realm is awful.
Didn't think it would be this bad.
Neither did I. I have to admit, seeing those people here was pretty horrible.
I just hope we can still do something to help them.
You and I both.
So the other elf, did you know him? I kind of know the answer to that, but he's still gonna ask.
What, you knew that she knew him, but I think the question is, you knew him well.
Yeah.
Kelariis is the only one I've ever told about the Chimera thing, right?
I think.
In detail, yes.
I did know him. We grew up together. um God. How do you explain?
I don't know, I think that's an in-character exclamation.
Pretty much. The Chimera, you know that I've been hunting it all this time. Well, he is the reason that I've been hunting it. It killed him when we were children.
I see.
And I blame myself for his death. It was me that put him in that situation. And now that I know that he's been trapped here all these years, it's worse than if he would have just been dead. Heavy shit.
Yeah, V's not used to heavy shit, man. I think all we can do is just do our best. Help them hopefully get out of here alive.
Yeah. That's what I hope to do. Kill that thing. For once and all. Oh, fuck. For once and... Fuck! I can't say it! I was trying to be dramatic. Can't do it. Whatever.
Retake.
Retake.
From the top.
Kill that thing for good. I'm just not even gonna try. I'm just not even gonna try. And put an end to this.
put an end to what is happening to my growth. But I'm still not sure if I can go back after that.
Hopefully, once they hear that you were the one who saved them, they'll understand.
You'd hope so. Alright, I think it's time to go back to bed.
Yeah.
Okay. You go back to sleep. I goes back to keeping watch. And the evening passes without incident. However, in an unusual twist, when you wake up in the morning, Vondal is the last person to wake up
That doesn't usually happen.
from an unusually heavy sleep.
Which means he's been snoring twice as loud as normal.
Oh, great. I have to
Vondal's
put up with
already
that
a
shit all
snorer.
night.
Vondal's already a snorer.
So, after you get packed up, you get ready to go on the road again. Can you again make me an extended nature check, Arya? Okay.
Nat 20 dough.
Hey-oh.
What I'll say is, you again sort of from your memory of this map, from your skills as a ranger, and from your natural navigation, you continue to follow the route that Alwyn has sketched out for you, and eventually you leave the Rocky Mountain Valley behind, and come out onto what is essentially like a small plain between two mountain ranges. And as you begin to approach another mountain range rising up into the distance, you notice several things. You notice that you are once again turning back towards the forest. And sort of as this plain ends and sort of like it's very flat and runs for a long distance. You can see for maybe a couple of miles in each direction, and you notice that the thick forest of dead trees begins again very suddenly before rising up into the distance. And in the not too far distance, you can see a mountain that seems to be crested with light. And you've never seen one before in your life, but from what you know of natural formations, you suspect this may be what is commonly known as a volcano. And as you all cross this plain headed towards the forest, I would like all of you to make me perception checks.
Nice one, Paul. Fuck.
Wow. Wow!
Nice!
Jesus.
Crit, crit, crit!
You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do, Arya?
Ding, ding.
I need to fail it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah,
Perfect.
Damn it. You didn't fail it enough.
You didn't feel that.
You needed to roll a natural one.
Okay.
You
So,
rolled a 2.
um, Kelariis, after your fitful night's sleep, you are still sort of like scanning the horizon for any dangers. You don't notice this sound on the wind to start. Arya, you're busy sort of like assessing the terrain ahead of you, knowing full well that it would be difficult for you to be ambushed in the middle of a plain like this, because there's nowhere for people to hide. You're sort of focusing on the terrain ahead, you're looking at the volcano in the distance and the forest. The other two of you, you're sort of looking around, and you hear a peculiar sound on the wind. Let me stop the music. First of all, the wind picks up very heavily. And on the heavy whistling wind, you hear the sound of a bell tolling.
Does it toll for the...
No. It does toll 3 times, however. And all of a sudden, a dust storm whips up in the middle of this plain, throwing all of you basically like off balance temporarily. And you sort of hold a hand over your eyes and shield yourself from the dust. And when the dust eventually subsides, a very peculiar sight is in front of you, as materializing out of the mist is a house.
What?
Or more accurately, it's a large building in a style that you've never seen before. And essentially, you look into a... standing in front of you, basically like almost as if it was appeared directly in front of you, is a building built around a large stone courtyard with walls on 3 sides. And basically standing in the courtyard are a number of figures. This is way too loud. In fact, actually, let's change the track. Yeah, standing basically in front of you is a building, stone courtyard surrounded on 3 sides by building. In the stone courtyard ahead of you stood a number of figures who seem to just be almost relaxing. Or seemingly under no suspicion that they've literally just appeared out of thin air to you. What are your passive perceptions? I think they're all higher than 10, aren't they?
I'm at 10.
I'm at
I don't
10.
know if that
Okay.
makes a difference.
Everyone except everyone that is not at 10. The first thing that you notice as well is the peculiar lanterns that line this courtyard. They are all they're all strange, like they're paper lanterns, but they're all black. So the light that comes out of them is very dim, and they form, as you can see in the picture, like this sort of purpley colour. What do you do?
I'd like to rub my eyes as if and make sure this isn't just some weird illusion.
It doesn't seem to be.
Okay, lovely. This isn't off-putting at all.
No, totally normal, right?
Looking around at the rest of your companions, including the ones not controlled by you, everybody looks utterly bewildered.
What happens if we look behind us?
If you look behind you, it's exactly where you came from.
Oh. It's not like been transported somewhere.
No. This thing has literally appeared in front of you, as far as you can tell. If nobody does anything, I'm just going to say you stand there in bewildered silence for a few moments.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone stands there in bewildered silence for a few moments. From a door nearby emerges a purple-skinned tiefling man who seems to be wearing they're probably like 3/4 length shorts made of some sort of like silk-like material, and he's also wearing a shirt made from a similar material. And he is wearing like a pair of sandals. And he sort of opens the door, steps out, closes it behind him, notices the 8 of you, waves a hand and begins to sort of like walk towards you.
Still bewildered.
Still bewildered. Okay.
Yep.
This has appeared out of nowhere and they're not hostile. What the fuck
Yep.
is going on?
The man walks up to you, sizes you all up momentarily. Before Arya, you're the furthest person forward, I expect, because you were leading the party. He turns to you and says, "Greetings, travellers." He promptly extends a hand to you and says, "My name is Yarl. Welcome to the House of Black Lanterns." I'd like everybody to roll me a history check.
Oh, boys!
Damn.
I look at it's a natural 20 and a natural 1. All in
Okay.
one roll.
What is it with people who have like the higher
Yeah.
proficiencies in things?
So actually, literally,
failing?
Arya succeeds this, but only succeeds this because you got a natural 20.
Wow.
Because the difficulty of this is really high.
Hmm.
Arya, for some reason, the name the House of Black Lanterns makes you start. The House of Black Lanterns it's a myth. Essentially, it's a tavern that exists in the space between worlds, essentially. It is everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. And it's basically said to be sort of this fabled place that travels between the realms. The history says that it basically its origin is of the Shadowfell, and it's seen as a ferry for the living to the world of the dead, sort of thing. Like there are various sort of like folklore stories about it. It's like, oh yeah, that's the House of Black Lanterns is where souls go to be transported to the realm of the dead. Though that it's just a story. So like you don't know that there's like any sense behind any of the things that you're coming up with. But yeah, like you've heard of it, but it's a myth. But yeah, this tiefling man is sort of standing there with his hand extended, waiting to shake your hand.
I mean, I guess I shake his hand.
Okay, you sort of like nervously proffer your hand, and he takes it and sort of shakes it, and he says, "Planar travellers, by the look of you." How do you respond?
Wait, what did he say?
Planar travellers, by the look of you.
Plane or...
So, travelers
guess-
between planes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. I guess Vondal will just say indeed.
seeing that you speak, he turns and offers his hand to you as well.
No.
Yeah, shakes your hand in return, and he says, excellent. Please, won't you come on inside? The dust out here is somewhat unpleasant. And he sort of like swats away a few sort of stray dust particles.
I hope you don't mind me asking. But this isn't a real place? I've always heard that this place was a myth.
He sort of he nods to you and says, I'm not surprised you've heard of us. We have quite the reputation. I can assure you, however, that this place is quite real.
How did it just sort of appear?
He turns to you, Vondal, and he makes a gesture where he taps the side of his nose twice and then winks.
Oh, okay.
Trade secret, I'm afraid.
Fuck it, I'm going in.
Okay.
I'm he's tired of standing out
I
here.
mean-
They seem nice.
Yep.
Okay, I guess I'll
I'm
follow.
not fucking there.
I mean, yeah.
No fear.
Cool. Yeah, seeing you walk forward, he sort of like he turns and like begins to lead you. He doesn't lead you back through the door that like he came out of, though. He leads you like sort of across the courtyard, towards like the door on the opposite side of the stone garden. And he says, "Yes, please, right this way." And yeah, he leads you across a courtyard filled with a number of peculiar people. There are several men and women sitting around on small stone benches, and as you walk past them, they look up to observe you, and you notice that many of them have completely pitch black eyes.
Oh, lovely.
You also pass a group of people who, as far as you can tell, are ghosts.
Yeah, okay.
And these ghosts all seem to be clustered around a woman who is wearing a raven feather cloak, who is standing on a small pedestal and talking to them. And she, from the looks of things, she's either like a storyteller or giving some kind of religious blessing.
Okay.
Okay, Vondal by he used to say, I know you told us the name of this place, but what actually is it?
As you sort of walk along, he walks and talks, and he says, quite simply put, it is an inn, a stopping place at the crossroads of, well, here, there, and everywhere. And he sort of he turns to Arya and says, "I'm sure your myths have many stories, but simply put, we reside here on the Shadowfell to offer shelter and passage to the living and to the recently departed as well." Do you have any other questions?
And are you alive?
He turns to you and sort of like pats you lightly on the shoulder and says, about as alive as you, my friend.
Are there any special rules we should be aware of while we're here?
He sort of he seems to consider the statement for a moment and says, nothing perhaps more than you might expect out of your regular tavern. I do have one request, and he sort of indicates your weapons, and he sort of says, there will be no need for weapons when we're inside, and I would ask kindly if you would relinquish them at the door. We have our own security. You will not need weapons of any kind, and I'm sure no one will give you any trouble. Your weapons will be returned to you when you leave.
Very well.
As you look around, you do realise that actually nobody in the courtyard that you can see is carrying a weapon.
Hmm.
Yeah, and eventually you sort of get across the courtyard. Yeah, eventually you get across the courtyard. And he takes you to a large set of double doors, which he slides aside. You notice they don't push, they slide. And he bids you step inside. Give me just a second.
My internet keeps cutting out. It's very bad.
Oh dear.
No.
I'd probably have more questions if I wasn't confused as all hell.
Yep. He seems to be appreciative of the fact that you are completely bewildered at his appearance. But yes, Jarl slides the doors aside and bids you step inside. And when you step inside, I'm going to change the music again. You enter into a beautifully decorated and manicured hall. Again, in a style that none of you have ever met, because none of you have ever been to the east.
We've met someone from the east, I think, haven't we?
Yeah, you met the monk.
The monk
Right.
for 3 seconds.
That monk that we
The
Yeah.
Elvish monk who I spoke Elvish to, then she spoke Dwarvish back, and it
Yes.
was possibly the nicest encounter we've ever had on the road.
Yep.
ever. Except for those people I gave 10 days rations to.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you find yourself inside a tavern. Well, actually, more accurately, you're inside a corridor in a tavern. And basically, as you step inside, the first thing that you notice directly, like to the side of the doors, who Jarl sort of Jarl sort of kicks his sandals off, picks up his sandals, and passes them to a enormous giant of a man. He is even taller than Kelariis. He is probably approaching 8 feet tall.
Oh shit.
And aside from what is essentially a small, would it be satin? I'm not sure if it's satin. It's the right material. Yeah, he's basically wearing a very fine waistcoat, but basically nothing else on his torso, and a similar sort of like silky 3/4 trousers that Jarl is wearing.
So,
So
so if it's not satin, does that mean it's new?
I have no idea what that means.
It's a joke. Satin. Satin.
God damn it.
Okay, Cav. I want you to pick yourself up slap yourself in the face and sit back down. Then you can continue.
Why do I have to stand up to do that?
Because it's humiliating.
There's no one in here to see it, you know.
But yes, an 8-foot tall man who is basically wearing a waistcoat and 3/4 length trousers and nothing else, who is covered in blue woad tattoos, takes these sandals
He's trying to steal
and
my
places
phone.
them into a rack. You have never seen a man so giant nor so ripped in your entire lives.
Jesus. Damn it.
So utterly shredded.
He is even more shredded than Kelariis.
No!
Impossible.
No.
Actually possible.
Does that mean he has more than 20 strength?
He does have more than 20 strength, yes.
Shit.
Damn it.
How could he?
Well, yeah, I'll say this in game terms, but you sort of know this in out of game terms as well. Kelariis is like as strong as they come. It is possible through magical means to attain a strength above 20.
Yeah.
But it is very difficult to do so. This man clearly does. He has an impossible amount of muscle mass. But yes, Jarl hands this man his sandals, and he says, "Thank you, Guorn." When the man sort of nods politely, and he turns back to you and says, "Guorn here is head of security. He will look after your weapons while you are here."
I didn't even have to give him my stick.
It would be considered polite if you were to do so, but if you don't want to, then I'm sure you can make a case for it.
I mean, I'm happy to be like his weapons.
Yeah. Yeah. He starts collecting your weapons, and you hear him call out in a gruff voice. He says, "Thalen, come and help me with this." At which point, another very muscular man, this time with two massive tusks sticking out from his lower jaw that you recognise as a half-orc, steps out from around the corridor, opens up like a sliding cupboard in the wall, which seems to be like a storeroom but full of like weapons on weapon racks, and he starts finding places for your weapons and making little notes underneath them in a what is actually quite nice cursive. But yeah, like he has little cards that go under your weapons, and he writes.
What's he writing it in? Is it just common or is it something else?
I think it's probably just common. I don't actually know what languages he speaks, but it's probably just common.
Lovely handwriting, though.
Yes. Jarl sort of like continues to talk while this happens, and he says, "Guorn and Thalen here are some of my oldest associates. They were adventurers once, but they've chosen to take a break from the adventuring life and have agreed to work for me for a reasonable price, I might add." At which point, this seems to sort of rouse a low chuckle from the two burly men. But yeah, once you finish sort of like handing your weapons over, Jarl turns back to you and says, "Now, please, after all that time out in the dust, you must be thirsty, hungry?"
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yes, please, right this way." And he opens up another sliding door, and you notice actually, now that you're becoming aware of these doors, you see that the whole corridor, whilst it looks like a solid corridor, is full of doors, but they are all so beautifully concealed in with the rest of the building of the inn that you cannot see half of the doors. But he slides open one into a large room that is there's probably about 8 or 9 people in here, but at the far end there seems to be sort of like a bar area, and there's a couple of free tables. You notice as well, like the moment you enter this room, a lot of people look up, and again there's more of these people with the pitch black eyes who sort of like look at you. But Yarl basically takes you up to the bar where there is an elderly dwarf. He probably is maybe 200 years older than you, Vondal. Yeah, he's getting into his elder years. Yeah, and Yarl basically says, yeah, Tarek here can get you anything that you might desire in terms of food and drink. I'm afraid dinner will be served in a few hours' time, but there are things to placate your hunger in the meantime.
Can we get like a bath or something? That would be nice.
You can ask him if you want one.
We're in the fucking Shadowfell for a few days.
Do
Yeah, I
you?
guess he's just gonna ask like if there's like a bath or something. Just sort of relax in.
He looks at you for a moment. Seems almost like surprised by the thought, and then sort of very overly dramatically does the like slaps himself in the head, like not actually like slapping himself in the head, but the sort of the dramatic you fool. And he says, goodness, my manners, of course. You must be you're tired, and yes, of course.
Okay.
And yeah, and he just turns back to you and says, water or steam?
Has Fee ever had a steam bath?
Probably not, no.
I want to try it.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Of course.
He smiles and says, I'm sure you will quite enjoy it.
Does anyone else not trust this guy as far as we can throw him?
I'm suspicious, but
I
also
don't.
just really curious.
Yeah.
Just can we not have a break?
He's very camp.
He is very camp.
I don't
It's
care
my-
if
it's
he's
my only
camp.
thought.
What?
No, I don't either. It's just a comment.
No, not necessarily camp. He's just very extravagant.
I thought those were the same thing.
Not necessarily. But yes, he offers to show V and anyone else who wants to go to the steam room.
Sure.
Come join me. Be fun.
I want a water bath.
Same.
Oh, water
Yeah.
There's a water bath.
So yeah, if everyone is going, sort of the rest of your companions, sort of for this entire section, sort of, Elrond and Simone have just sort of been like standing, sort of like they've been doing the sort of thing that they do when they're not quite comfortable, which is what like they stand sort of like shoulder to shoulder, but like facing sort of like slightly away from each other. So it's sort of like they're watching each other's back.
Battle stance.
Not quite, but it's sort of a like you watch. It's a mutual. You watch my back, I'll watch yours. But yeah, they've been doing that. Lysatus has sort of like been taking in every single minute detail whilst fiddling with her sleeve, and Zale is just watching this tiefling man with basically like his jaw is open and he's just like wow at everything.
Of course. What a nerd.
What a nerd.
Well, this is something completely brand new to him about something that he was considered an expert in.
Yeah.
But yes, at the offer of a bath, I think Ilar and Simone will accept. I think Lysatus will decline, but Zale will definitely Zale is just definitely like, I have never been in a steam room before.
Oh my god.
I love how excited Zale is.
That's actually just like
This is
this
like
is too
fan
cheery.
This is the fan service scene.
This
Um,
artist is clearly just like this is too cheery.
But yeah, if you all go with him, everyone except Lysatus goes to the bathroom, and yeah, essentially it is like he opens one door that leads into sort of like there is a room that is just, it is a massive open public bath full of hot water, segregated down the middle, male female. And he sort of, as he steps in and invites you all in, he opens up one door to the side that seems to like, it leads like into a steam room, and he says, once you've washed yourselves down, you simply step in here. There are a few other tenants sort of like just using the bath. There probably aren't that many at this point in the afternoon. But there are like a handful of people, like one or two. But yeah, he says, please make yourselves at home. Once you are quite finished, if you'd like a tour of the place or anything else, merely grab one of the servers. And he sort of he leans out of the doorway, sort of like snaps his fingers, and like a human man sort of like walks down the corridor, and he's got like much in the similar sort of style to the waistcoat that the man was wearing before, except this time he's not bare-chested. He's wearing like a black waistcoat with a like little lantern on it. And he says, anybody with the black waistcoat and the lantern, just ask them for anything they want, and they'll be happy to direct you. And he sort of says, if you want me, simply have one of the servers fetch me, or seek me out in the private lounge, and I'll be there.
I guess I'll say,
Okay.
All right.
I guess I'll just say thank you for your hospitality.
Nods and says, not at all. I will point out, like at this point, as you've sort of like been going around, like in the bar and stuff, there is like a price list of things, so you assume that you're going to have to pay for stuff at the end of this, but I don't think that's really a concern.
No.
We have so much fucking money. Who
Not a huge
cares?
one. As long as the price list isn't like 100 gold, we're fine.
No. It's like it's pricey. Like it is a proper like up-class establishment price system, but it's not unaffordable.
Especially not
I mean, that's
for
fine.
us.
Weirdly convenient that he placed this in directly after he gave us huge amounts of money.
Actually, it was determined entirely by the dice.
Oh, lovely.
Well, shit.
I love dice.
There you go.
Thank you, dice.
Nice. The fucking music.
I love
I can't believe we're in an anime now.
it.
It's the fan service scene.
It is the
Oh,
fan service
God.
scene.
I mean-
oh my god, yeah, because it's in a bathhouse as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I literally, in my other D&D campaign, we had a bathhouse scene, and it was fan servicey as fuck, and it was brilliant.
Amazing.
Fan service. Yeah, quick. Cut to Ella and Smyrny.
Oh my god.
Except they're going to be in completely the opposite sides of the bath.
Yeah.
So yeah, those of you who are going in the steam room, go in the steam room. Those of you who are having a bath, go into the bath. Gender separated. Do any of you want to have a conversation? Also, it is literally just separated by a screen, so you could theoretically have a conversation through the screen if you talk loud enough.
V would probably ditch a towel, actually.
Yep.
Classic dryad style.
I mean, pretty much everybody else in here is naked.
Oh, fair enough. See, It's all the more reason to be comfortable.
Arya's just like, I'm gonna hard pass on that. Sorry,
guess-
guys. Not enough fan service.
Wow.
Can't see the ass.
Wow.
Nah,
no
V's
elf
ass is
booty.
out.
There's no elf booty.
No,
There's
Not
no
today.
booty.
Not even with the convenient layer of censoring Steam.
no, not even with the convenient censoring Steam.
Convenient censoring Steam. Oh god.
Wait. Yeah, I guess we're just gonna mention that lady in the courtyard who was like given.
Well,
us
so
weird-
let's establish who's where to start with.
I'm in the Steam room.
Okay.
With V.
Yeah. I'm in the steam room.
I'm just in the bath.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so actually, let's write this down.
So hang on, that makes it Zale, V,
Uh,
Arya, Steam.
so
Zale's all by himself. Oh, unless
Uh,
Illian would for
No, I
Steam.
think
Illiran is the one you're in, aren't they?
No, Eleanor and Simone.
Eleanor and Simone are in the bath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Zale's just all by himself.
Rip.
Yeah, but he's having a whale of a time being like, oh my god.
This is
He's probably-
amazing.
If he could get paper in there, he'd be furiously writing notes.
Yeah, don't
Sorry.
take paper in a Steam room.
No.
Yeah, that would
No.
not end well for the paper.
Okay, so there you go. That's the where you guys are.
This is very important information.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. And then what? The people in the like, even though like the bathroom is like gender separated, it's still just like a tiny thin like paper wall.
Yeah. Yeah, like a traditional bath.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Haven't you ever watched an anime?
I mean,
Cav?
I mean,
No.
in a traditional bath,
Not
it's
enough.
actually not usually separated, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But this place is posh.
well, this place conforms to general material realm standards,
Okay.
which is gender segregated. But it does seem like, however, though the screen can be removed at will. It is just currently up.
I think as far as conversation goes, Vondal's actually gonna start voicing opinions. So he probably does say it loud enough for Kelariis and Smitty to hear. He's just gonna sort of go, I'm really not sure what to think of this place. On the one hand, it's rather welcome, but on the other, I can't, given the location in which we found it, I can't help but feel on edge.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's not really something we can turn down an opportunity for at the moment.
Not given what's been happening the last few since we arrived.
Well, exactly.
Illiran sort of speaks up and says, given the way it appeared out of thin air and essentially got the drop on us, I feel like somehow if they'd wanted to attack and kidnap us, they probably would have done so already.
Exactly.
That's true.
Does not hurt to be on our guard, but I have to say well, I could use the break.
I think we all could.
It's certainly not your average adventure what we're on right now.
Every adventure is. What are you talking?
Okay, Steam Room guys, what are you talking about?
I guess I voice my own of place.
Okay.
It just seems very odd.
And I presume, V, you respond with what you said you were going to say before.
I didn't hear it all. because my internet died.
Oh.
Oh no.
Well, you started saying something earlier, and Arya said. I went back to the steam room, and Arya said, voiced her concerns about this place appearing out of nowhere, and presumably you want to say what you were going to say before.
Yeah, V was just gonna mention the lady in the courtyard who seemed to look at us, kind of like. Intense.
You in particular.
Oh, me in particular. She looked at me strangely.
Why does everyone look at V strangely?
God damn it.
Everyone looks at V weirdly.
Mm.
But I like this place. It's nice.
Because V is special.
I'm very special.
Is that a special
But
place?
yeah, V's just sort of like, I like this place. It's nice. It's a nice break. It's just weird that some people have black eyes, and the lady looked at me. But I don't care. And V just sort of
Whatever.
enjoys the steam.
Yeah. Well, Zale sort of like chips in and says, "Well, our host seems perfectly happy to discuss things. Perhaps we should, I don't know, ask him."
Yeah. It's too bad Lysatos turned on the bath. It's nice in here. Well, what's next?
It's up to you guys.
So I guess we'll get out.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Eventually, you all get out of the bath.
Arya drags V out of the bath.
Yeah.
V would happily stay in there
all
day.
of you can remove one despair.
Oh shit.
Ah,
Ooh.
Thank
everyone
God.
had a lovely bath.
Yay.
Aren't you glad that I asked if there were baths?
Very much
Very
so.
glad.
I'm very glad.
So, eventually you all sort of get out, get dried. After that,
I think I want to go find the lady in the courtyard.
okay, you want to wander back out to the courtyard. You can certainly do that. You
I'll go with you.
you find your way back to the front door. The woad tattooed man sort of still standing there. He seems to sort of like have a small stool that seems like way too small for him, like next to him. Arya, you notice as you walk down the corridor towards him, he does regard you with some curiosity.
Because I also have Wogue.
What?
Maybe.
The
Are we
word.
twins?
I'm back. Hello?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello?
My internet died in the middle of my sentence. Okay.
Damn it.
hi. Welcome back.
Say it
Do you
again.
want to repeat yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I said I was just gonna wander out to the courtyard because I wanted to talk to
Yes.
her. But I wasn't sure if people wanted to accompany me.
Yeah, Arya's coming with you.
Okay.
I mean, did you tell us about?
Oh yeah, you've all got together to decide what to do.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'll walk out into the courtyard. I won't necessarily stand with for the conversation, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think same with that regard.
I
Okay.
want to just like sit around.
I mean, it seemed like a nice enough courtyard. Probably to find someone quiet.
Yeah, you walk out like into the
Enjoy the scenery.
towards the courtyard. Yeah, Arya, the tattooed man, regards you.
Can I help you?
He as you walk up to him and sort of say that, he sort of inclines his head and says, "Nice woad."
It was the fucking way I do it.
Nice work. I love his accent.
I know.
I'm surprised it didn't come off in the steam room.
I reapplied
Well,
it.
it's a stain. Woad
It was
stains.
also a stain.
It
Right,
just
okay.
stains your face. You have to like, intentionally
Nice
wash it
work.
off.
It's like, you know, like henna?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like that.
It's literally a plant that you grind down to be blue and then you smear it on your face.
Yes. It's also only slightly poisonous.
And it's like,
Hey,
Ayo.
only slightly.
I feel like that's fitting for Arya to have
Yeah.
on all the time.
Slightly poisonous.
Yeah.
Die.
He like after he says it, like there's sort of like a moment's pause, and he sort of indicates it and says, "Who is it?"
Who is it?
Yes.
What do you mean?
The marking. A man you hunt.
Oh. I didn't know that's what Wogue stood for. Stands for? I don't know the correct.
He sort of regards you and says, "In my culture, a band across the face is a grievous dishonor, a man who must die."
Well, there is certainly a man that must die. He's a man here in this realm that we are hunting.
He sort of folds his arms and nods and says, "Huh. Well, good hunting."
So are all of your marks men that you must kill?
He looks down and says, "No." He reaches out one forearm and he shows you like a bunch of like swirls and marks that all connect to each other, and he goes, "This one is my grandfather, this one my grandmother, and then my mother and my father and my 4 sisters." And like he points out, and like they all have a significance to him, and like, "And this
Right.
is my first hunt." And like he goes through and like points out like a whole, because they're all like tribal tattoos.
So he's Maui. What? What you're
Not
saying.
quite.
he has tattoos.
Don't
think
they're
mark
quite that
important
intricate.
Events and things in his life.
You don't know this because you don't even know about the existence of Goliaths, but he is a Goliath.
Interesting.
But yeah, basically they're sort of like they're a pseudo Celtic Russian culture.
Okay. It's an
That
interesting
explains
mix.
the accent.
Yeah.
Also means you could get away with Scottish.
Yeah. Yes, he has a series of tribal tattoos that represent various things to him, and
Right.
he interpreted yours as the mark of great dishonor, that you have to kill someone.
I mean, he's not exactly wrong, but it just wasn't.
Just wasn't intentional, no.
A happy accident, you might call it.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, tattoos are very lovely.
Jeez.
Seems you put a lot of effort into remembering those important to you.
He sort of nods and says, "It is part of my culture."
Who knew we'd be bro bonding over Wogue?
Who knows? Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, you step out into the courtyard.
Oh yeah, we have to find that lady.
Yeah, it's still standing there.
Still looking at me?
Doesn't look up at you like the moment you enter. Like she seems to just like there seems to be like a line of these ghost people that come up to her, and like one after the other, she seems to like utter some sort of words and like place a hand over their head. The moment you begin to approach her, though, she does look up, and like she's still talking and doing these blessings, but she is watching you as you approach.
Okay. I don't really want to interrupt her. Seems busy.
Well, you expect if you were to wait, like, maybe, like, 10-15 minutes, like, this line of ghost people would be gone. So do you just, like, sort of stick around? Oh, I should point out at this point, yeah, Eleran, Simone, and Zale go in search of Lysatus. So they are no longer with you. So do you sit around and wait? I think Helena's died again.
Yeah, I think she
Yep.
is.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I mean, I assume she.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume you sit and wait. But yes, after probably about 15 minutes, this line of ghosts like sort of disperse, and they don't actually really like sort of go anywhere. They sort of go and gather in a little group and sort of like seem to be like talking amongst themselves. Just gonna like hope that Helena comes back and gives me some sort of sign.
Helena.
God, it's so close to the end as well.
I know.
It's really irritating.
God damn it.
Shall
Normally it's
we?
my internet dying that's the
So
problem.
close.
Shall we cut away to another scene that you guys can have for the moment?
Who is you guys?
Those of you who are not Helena.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but I'm
I
with
guess if
Helena.
we're sitting
I mean,
around
you can
waiting-
you can still be there for the thing, but then another scene will happen afterwards. But we'll come back to the original scene later.
Well, this is the thing. It's like we're sitting around waiting.
I mean, yeah, like you can sit around and wait for V to have this conversation with this peculiar woman, or you can sort of like wander off and do something else. I mean, like literally, Yarol said to you, just get any of the servers if you want anything. So if you want anything, you can just find a server and say, "Can I have a drink?" or whatever.
Yo, what up?
What up, my dude?
Ooh,
Oh.
What the fuck? I was back and I was talking to you guys, but you couldn't hear me. Anyway.
Yeah, we can
Oh.
hear you.
weird.
Oh.
Hello.
Okay, so we'll do the scene then. Right. So 15 minutes pass. Ghost line depletes. Woman seems to be free.
Alright, I guess I'm just gonna go up and say hi.
Okay. You approach her. She steps down from her small, like, little, you see now that it's not a pedestal, it's just another stone bench that she was just sort of standing on to, like, rise above the crowd. But yeah, she like draws, like, the raven feather cloak, like, around her, like, slightly closer. Because it is quite cold out here now that you've sort of, like, stepped out from inside. You realise now how cold it is. She sort of draws it around herself. And she...
Does she have black eyes like the other people?
no, she seems to have... human eyes. But her gaze is somewhat more than that. Like, it's her eyes are dark and very, very piercing.
Okay.
Give me just like an Arcana check or something, I guess. Yeah, she's just got very, very piercing eyes. She smiles as sort of you approach, and she offers you like a short curtsy.
Yeah, I guess I return it.
Okay.
Hi, I was just sort of wondering what you're doing with these people, I guess.
She sort of like turns towards the crowd of ghosts that have sort of like wandered off. And she says, these poor souls. I merely give them my blessing for the journey onwards.
They go in peace then?
She nods. I need to find out what it's called. Yeah, she nods and says, they are headed for the City of Judgment.
What happens in the City of Judgment?
Their lives will be weighed and their spirits sent to their rightful resting place, as befits all those who die.
I noticed you gave us, or maybe me, a sort of peculiar look when we entered this place.
She smiles and says, well, it seems I'm not the only person with sharp eyes around here. Yes, I did notice you when you arrived. I had expected Jarl would stop to pick you up. You're, just his type.
What?
Just me or us?
All of you. He does...
Type how?
He likes to think of himself as the generous host. He likes to pick up lost souls who seem at the end of their tether. He considers himself awfully charitable for doing so.
Well, it was appreciated.
Personally, I think he just does it to see the look on your faces.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
She smiles and says, if that is what you believe. And like, there's sort of like a brief pause in the conversation, and she seems to like, she looks at you, like, she looks at you like dead in the eyes for like a really long time, like there's no blinking or anything.
Okay, that's not weird.
And like, she, again, you get, like, you're fixed with this piercing stare, and you feel like she's looking through you or into you. And she sort of says, I must admit, there is something to you. And she actually, like, probably at this point, looks up and looks at your companions who are sort of sitting a short distance away. She says, you're all quite the remarkable sort to be here in the Shadowfell.
Well, we're kind of not from here. We're sort of traveling here to fight this guy, so hopefully we won't be here for much longer.
She chuckles to herself and says, no, no, you are not natives, that much is evident. Your goal is laudable. You do have honourable intentions. And you... And she like looks at you like with a cocked head. It's like the way she moves is like she looks almost like when like a bird is looking at something. She does sort of like she turns her head and looks at you. And she says, You certainly are special, aren't you? You and I are not entirely dissimilar, though in a very different fashion.
Similar how?
She again just smiles and says, called to a greater goal, a higher way.
I don't know what that means.
Helena, you're really quiet, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just said I don't know what that means.
In character, or
No, yeah, in character.
okay. In that case, she reaches out a hand to you and says, "May I?"
Yes.
Okay. She places a hand on your shoulder, and I would like you to come with me for a second.
Okay, bye guys.
Okay. So,
Yep.
as the woman places a hand on your shoulder, it feels almost like the ground is whipped out from under your feet, as everything around you turns black, but only for a moment. As you find yourself in this blackness, you suddenly see winking into existence 100,000 tiny points of light. An entire galaxy of stars. But they're not stars. All of a sudden, you can feel a connection to every single one of them. Every single one of them has a life, a story, a mind, a goal, loves, hopes, dreams. And they're all connected in such infinitesimal ways. And as you can still feel this hand on your shoulder. One winks out of existence, and you feel the impact that passing has on every other star. But the end of that star is not the end, it is only the beginning of something different. 100 tiny changes occur from this one ending. And the sparks that disappear off from this star's demise form maybe 4 or 5 other specks in the sky. And then all of a sudden the ground is back under your feet, and the woman is looking at you, smiling, and she says, "Now I think you understand." At which point we'll go back.
Oh. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
What did your magical experience entail?
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Oh shit.
So yeah, how do you respond?
I think V is, and pardon the pun, but she's a little bit starstruck.
Okay.
Why would she wait? Why is starstruck a pun?
I know, I wanna know.
Spoilers.
What does that mean?
I think V says that felt a lot like when I do magic. And I think I've seen it in a dream.
She nods and says, that is, I think, not entirely incorrect. There is a force surrounds us and binds us. Just to steal from another show. But no, she says it surrounds and binds us. Some call it the weave. Some call it Gaia. Some call it just life.
is connected with Gaia somehow. I've always heard a lot of stories about her or it or... But I don't really know.
The woman nods and says, I think the answer is closer than you think. And she runs a hand from your shoulder to like the center of your breastbone, and then sort of takes a hand away.
Thank you.
She smiles and says, I wish you luck on your quest. And then she holds up a hand and says, I can give you my blessing if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay, she does so, and I will whisper you what that does.
So many secrets.
Some
know,
secrets.
right?
Hang on. I need to phrase this correctly so that you don't misinterpret it.
Cool.
Oh, I'll add an addendum to that just to make sure.
Via's had like the most secret stuff out of like anyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Winky face.
Ah, yes, thank you. I did wonder about that for a second.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. She smiles, sort of like holds the cloak like sort of like tightly around herself, and again curtsies and turns away from you to go through like a door on the other side of it, or to one side of the courtyard.
Right, yeah, I guess I return to my friends.
Okay, you return to your friends.
So.
So, V just sort of thinks and then just goes, I have a lot to think about.
Okay.
I take it you'd like to stick
That's
around then?
fair.
Sorry, what did you say, Jayla?
I said that's fair.
I take it you'd like to stick around then?
I mean, we're gonna spend the night here, right?
I don't think she
Okay.
has anything to tell me anymore. But I did learn some interesting stuff, I think.
Oh, I should point out, by the way, also V has no idea what that blessing does.
Okay. But I know.
You know what it does.
What?
Actually, I think V's just suddenly gonna turn to Kelariis and just gonna be like, remember all that time ago when we were in Argentelrund? And we were in the middle of the square, close to the tree.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
When I held your hand, I had this really weird feeling. Like I was really close to you. Like I was almost a little part of you. And she showed me something that made me feel like that again. But with like 1,000 people. people that I don't know. But I know they were there. And I kind of did feel like I knew who, even if I didn't know who they were.
Well, that's interesting.
Was that all she said to you?
She said I was like her, in a way, but also very different.
What does that mean?
Yes. What does that mean? Who is she like a priest of? Helena.
Hmm?
I said, who is she?
I don't know. If she was a priest of.
Oh. Why didn't you ask?
Well,
She did not tell me, and we had more important things to talk about. Sorry,
I
friend.
mean, it could be that. She might not be a priest, for all we know.
Didn't she say she was a priest?
Did she say she was a priest?
Nope, she never said she was a priest.
Okay.
That was merely your initial assessment of her.
I mean, if
Yeah. Our assessment was like that she could have been doing some sort of religious thing with them.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if she said she's like UV, it could be that maybe she pulls her power from somewhere like you do. But maybe that's what she meant. I would assume that's what she meant.
Well, she also told me a little bit about something that connects everything. She called it the weave, or she called it Gaia too. And she said it was here. V points to her own chest.
Okay.
The rest of your party is just looking at you, just like, what the fuck does that even mean?
God, Vondal's already confused with the sudden appearance of this random inn. Now there's this. God. His mind is blown.
I still don't really get it, but it feels like it makes sense.
Okay. Hippy dippy magic shit.
Well, if you have things you
Look,
want to
Arya,
think about
maybe
it.
if you actually rolled a natural 20 on Arcana,
Damn.
maybe you would know how I feel.
Look, Helena, I'm sorry, my Arcana is bad.
You don't have to be good at Arcana to roll a natural 20.
It helps.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's not how
It-
natural
it-
20s
You
work.
have exactly the same
It's
chance.
still a
I feel like
5%
roll-
chance.
I mean, I feel like I don't have to roll a natural 20. I think I can roll lower than that, but maybe that's just me. I mean, I've consistently rolled like shit on those checks.
Anyway. Yeah, I think that's kind of all V can say, because she doesn't really get it herself either.
Well, I think Vondal's going to
Yeah.
say, well, if you think that you have a lot to think about, it seems we have as good a time as any to do some thinking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Should we see if we can...
And if you still have questions, as Zale did mention, you can always just go and ask.
That's true.
Yeah. Shall we see what our companions are up to?
Yeah, you can head back to the room that you saw, that you left Lukadarkwater in previously. Yeah, and basically, yeah, you walk into a room that is, you walk back into the room and notice that your companions are basically all sat around a table. Lukadarkwater has basically got a mug of something steaming and a bowl that previously presumably held some sort of soup or broth or something that is now empty. Iloran and Simone seem to have like large, elaborate glasses that are sort of they're filled with some sort of clear liquid that you presume is water. And
Maybe vodka.
it might be vodka. If it's vodka, there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a fucking long day. So.
You have had a long
Yeah,
day.
that's fair.
And yeah, I think Zale probably has some sort of ale in front of him.
Fuck you.
That's so bad.
Oh, that's amazing. Well
God.
done. Oh,
Can we just get on with the game, please?
I thought we were. Speaking of ale, though, Vondal would also like some.
Yeah, you can
There's
definitely.
there's a dwarf behind the bar.
Yep.
Dwarven ale.
Yep. Do you go up and ask Tarek what there is in terms of ale?
I do.
You come up and you say, "What do you have in terms of ale?" And there between the two of you there is exchanged a long and knowing look. And he
That's
says
a woman look.
he says nothing, produces a very dark and dusty bottle from under the bar, uncorks it,
No.
and pours a liquid that it's basically black into it. It foams up with a thoroughly impressive head, and then he slides his mug across to you and just puts the stopper back in the bottle, puts the bottle back under the table, and says nothing.
Okay.
Oh god.
Fucking dwarves.
Do you drink it?
Yeah.
It's dwarven stout.
I'd say then how much?
He looks over his shoulder and says, "To you, a gold."
To you.
I'll flick him the gold.
shit.
I'll flick him the gold and
Okay.
come back to the table.
Yeah. You just got a very good deal that is worth considerably more.
Dwarf powers.
Dwarf powers.
Dwarf powers.
I proceed to
Yeah.
power through this.
Yeah. But the closest thing, by the way, that I can describe this to is basically if you've ever had Guinness. Guinness is like drinking bread.
It really is.
This is like drinking 2 loaves of bread.
Okay then.
It's like really gross. I hate Guinness so much.
I hate Guinness as well, but
I've never tried it.
a friend of mine who coincidentally is Irish once described it to me as drinking
Wow,
bread
surprise.
before he gave it to me, and I have never heard truer words. It is like drinking bread.
No,
It's
my
really
dad.
nice.
My dad has nothing but Guinness, but like lower alcohol version.
Anyway,
But yeah, there you go.
if the rest of you want to get something, you can also get something.
I would like some apple juice.
They also do that.
Perfect.
Oh, by the way, your other companions tell you that Yarl already has a tab open for you. So if you don't want to like fiddle around with paying for stuff right now, you can just tell me what you want and pay for it at the end,
Yeah.
and I'll track it. Yeah, basically he's opened a tab for you.
Alright.
Convenient.
He's doing the classic capitalist thing, just encouraging us to spend as much money as possible.
He's chaotic neutral. He lives for his own whims.
Yeah,
That's fair.
let him do his thing.
Yeah, we've had a long bit here. I'll probably get something to drink too.
Okay.
Just standard, whatever.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Cool. Yeah, you get something that suits.
Not whatever the fuck Vondal is drinking.
Yeah,
Right.
not dwarven stout.
No, thanks. I'm
Especially
good.
not
I
because
don't
it,
wanna-
especially because it's like 3 gold a pot.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's strong stuff though. You do not need another drink for like the next 2 hours. Like this stuff takes you a long time to drink.
Gets all in my beard.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm specifying.
But yes, after you finish your drinks, you notice that basically Yarrell appears, sees that you haven't quite finished your drinks, sort of waves to you, goes over, talks to the bartender. Like the bartender seems to get like he seems to like be arguing very forcibly for something. Yarrell is just sort of like, oh, go on, and then he's just like, okay, fine, and then he walks off into the back, and Yarrell is just like, thank you, then comes over when you've sort of like finished your drinks and says, dinner will be served shortly if you'd like to attend.
It certainly wouldn't hurt.
Dinner would be fantastic.
Hell yeah!
He nods and says, oh, excellent. I do believe Cadwin would very much like to meet you as well. She's a big fan of meeting travellers and listening to their stories. But yes, when you have finished your drinks, he prepares to lead you all to the dining hall. Which, much to your surprise, you've never eaten in a style like this before. Basically, there are a bunch of really, really tiny tables laid out,
Oh,
and no chairs.
Oh.
cushions.
So basically, you sit on the floor, and when you're sat on the floor, the tables are like knee height.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting to sit at.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you're particularly tall, you sort of have to like lie down a little bit.
So Kelariis, you're gonna have to slouch like a
Yeah.
No.
mule.
But that's okay, because there's like plenty of room and lots of cushions. And yeah, basically, the menu is basically whatever you can think of.
Cool.
I mean, that's pretty sweet.
So yeah, I guess you guys just eat food, like whatever you want.
Generic
Yeah.
food, TM.
Generic food.
Well, it's
Like,
whatever you
dwarven
want.
food.
So you can decide what you want, but I'm guessing that you all just like eat as much as you want.
Yeah, I don't.
A nice
Care.
dwarven meal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the other thing you notice. There are no utensils on the table. Like your utensils seem to like come with the stuff, but most of the people you notice around here, particularly the people who've got like the dark eyes, they are eating a lot of like hand food. Like one table, another dwarf comes out with like he's got like a big steaming bowl of something that smells incredibly spicy, and he comes out carrying basically like this massive flatbread, and he just puts the massive flatbread down in front of these 4 black-eyed humanoids, and they basically just like tear this flatbread apart, ladle like this hot, it's curry basically, into bowls and just eat it
Yes.
with their hands and the bread.
Fucking love curry.
It's like proper like Indian style curry eating.
Ah.
But yeah, you all eat, and about halfway through the meal, Yarrell brings out a older-looking elf woman, high elf woman, and introduces you to her as introduces her to you as Cadwyn. And yeah, she's a rosy-skinned high elf, and Jarl basically explains that she is matron of the house. Like, she's in charge of the kitchens and guest accommodation and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, very much pleased to see you. And immediately she is asking you sort of like, oh, where have you come from? Tell me about yourselves. What do you do? And yeah, she seems curious to meet travellers.
Fair enough.
Do you share stories?
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Cool. You share some stories of your adventures, and she seems sort of very happy to sort of like listen to them. But yeah, like eventually, sort of like you finish your meals, and Cadwyn is like, "Oh, I'll have the servers clear all this up." And she says, "Well, it's been lovely to meet you all. If you have need of anything, day or night, don't hesitate to grab a server and just ask for anything. I'll do my best to provide it."
So I will thank her for the accommodation as well.
She blushes slightly and says, "Oh no, it's nothing really. It's nothing."
There you go, Vondal. A high elf that has modesty.
Clearly. Very surprised.
Okay. Yeah, after she departs, Jarl comes back to see to you again. He seems like he doesn't really go anywhere when she comes to talk to you. He sort of just flits around the tables talking to like the various guests. But he comes back to you and basically says, "Well, if that's enough food for you all, and you've all had plenty to drink, can I interest you in any other pleasures? I have a wide range of tobaccos and smokables in my private lounge, or if you want something a little, shall we say, more unconventional, there is the Red Room."
The red.
What?
That has a lot of negative connotations in my nerd brain.
Yeah, I think that's the most fan servicey bit of all.
Yeah, to all of you who are adult enough to sort of work it out, you make the sort of connotations to the phrase "the Red Room" and know that it means that you can get, well, the description I have on my notes is various mortal pleasures that others consider unsavory or immodest.
What?
That sounds even dodgier than it should.
I
It
know,
really does.
it does.
Let's just say he has a very wide variety of things on offer.
So you're
Hey.
saying kinky.
I'm just gonna say no.
I'm
I'm
quite happy
good.
with the courtyard and the night's rest.
Yeah.
Your party wholly agrees.
Yeah.
He sort of shrugs and says, "Well, if ever you need anything, you know where I am. Or rather, my servers do."
So all I'm saying is, for the first time in ages, I'm about to say this, but it's a good thing Grim isn't here.
Wow.
Wow.
Jesus.
I'm just saying.
Minnie has every right to be offended by that.
Right?
Yeah, so
I like to imagine like the reactions of the rest as well. Like it was
Yeah.
being like a little bit awkward, and Levithyl just being like, "No, we're good."
yeah.
So I've just been like, I'm married.
Been married for a long time. Seen it all, no desire to see it again.
Good.
But yes, Jarl is with you if you have anything you want to talk to him about. Otherwise, I think we will call the session with you guys going to sleep.
Yeah, a good idea.
That's good. Do we have to make a despair chicken here?
No, you do not.
Thank God.
Yay!
It is almost as
We did it,
if,
guys.
as you go to sleep, you feel a sense of restfulness and peace that seems almost unnatural in this place. Almost as if this place doesn't quite exist in the same world that the Shadowfell does.
We have just been teleported into another plane. Or it's like a
Probably.
demi-plane thingy thing.
Not quite, no. The feeling is not the same sensation. It suffice it to say, like, it exists almost like in a bubble that is separate from the environment that it currently finds itself in, which has the added advantage of being habitable regardless of which plane it shows up in.
Huzzah.
So, if nobody has anything they want to ask Yarrow at this point, we will call the session there. And you all can tell me what it is that you have learned whilst I calculate your experience points. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first, I guess. I thought that it's very annoying to have internet issues.
It is.
Yeah, that was really, really annoying. Also, I have been like yawning and being tired for like a solid like 2 hours, and I felt like it felt so awful. Just like I just want to take a nap. Aside from that, it's kind of hard to have V being basically confronted with the fact like, hey, you're like kind of like a fucking mortal container for a god. Or something like that.
Yep.
It's hard to think about like how quickly does V like fully catch on to that fact? Is this the point where it is blatantly obvious to the point where she knows, where I know that she knows? Or is this a point where she's still sort of like thinking emoji? I don't know.
I think you're still very much thinking emoji.
Yeah, I agree.
Because after all, your mysterious new friend was deliberately cryptic.
Deliberately keeps it, yeah. And it's also just like such a strange concept in general, like to like basically tell that to someone is sort of like, are you entirely sure? Because that sounds kind of like weird. So I don't know, it's hard to sort of, I think it's kind of hard to roleplay that.
Yes.
Maybe if we found out we were sold.
Well, again, maybe if you rolled a natural 20 on Arcana, you would know how I feel.
I'm trying so hard.
We just need to make you make more Arcana checks. One day we'll figure it out someday.
One day.
One day.
Today is not that day, though.
Today is in fact not the day.
No.
I'm not sure. Yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna say I'm not sure what I've learned as V, but I mean, there has been some things learned, I guess.
Yes.
I think a fun thing to do was sort of comparing it to that feeling with Kelariis, like a solid 8 months ago. I don't know when it happened, but I was sort of like, oh yeah, that happened, and I guess this is sort of the same.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very in character for V to sort of be like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense, but I can't explain why.
Yeah.
Because it does make perfect sense to her, because it's how she feels. That's how, she has a visual representation of how she feels connected to magic. That she can't explain to anybody else because nobody else sees it that way. Except for, now, one person.
Yeah. I have no idea who she is, except that she. Well, I guess you guys were like arguing like who she could be a priest for, but like, wouldn't the most natural thing be like Raven Queen or some shit? I don't know. I'm not sure if Raven Queen exists in this universe.
You never know.
You'll never know. Yeah. Yeah, and aside from that, going up to
Yeah.
5 despair, fun times. And now I'm back to 4, so if I hit 5 again, I get another full like asshole despair effect. That'll be a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. If only you'd asked Yarrell who that woman was, you might have got a clue.
Good point.
Write
Maybe
it down.
next
Maybe we
session.
can ask him in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like that'd take a lot of explaining.
Didn't even ask for her name. I'm such an idiot.
I was sitting there the whole time like, Helena's not.
I'm just angry because I have to sit on it for a whole week.
Look, there were important questions to be asked. Okay?
And one of them was her fucking name.
No.
Or who the fuck she was. Right.
Shush.
Shall we do somebody else while you add 1,559 experience?
Yeah, I'll go. I've been having a think. Because I'm struggling to think what I did learn this session. I guess another lesson has been drilled home in the importance of planning out encounters more specifically. Because planning things out, having a cool, detailed plan, really helps things flow. And of course, another lesson in the importance of crowd control.
Mm-hmm.
Because having things not even actually fight you is really useful.
Yep.
Because that would have gone very badly otherwise.
Yeah, it turns out smashing a statue is very easy when it's not trying to smash you back.
Yeah.
Words from the wise.
Yeah. And as well, like, this session I tried to obviously, like, start some, like, conversation. I tried, like, starting a few conversations where I could. Like, I probably would have been trying to go for Arya if I wasn't super asleep.
Yeah.
But unfortunately I was super asleep. But, like, I struggle enough starting and continuing real-life conversations as me. How can I continue conversations like this, like, as someone else? I find it very difficult.
Yes.
But I tried.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the important thing to remember is just because you're not articulate doesn't mean your character isn't. So whilst it may take a couple of tries for you to get the sentiment out, it only takes your character one try.
okay, fair enough. Yeah, and then yeah, Vondal's had a bit of a roller coaster emotions-wise.
Yeah.
But I wanted to I sort of, because I didn't do it last session, and like I've obviously done a bit of thinking since last session. Like, it's like that ambush was something I wanted to make a despair check on because of obviously the big thing that happened in his past, and of course it's related again to the same. It's related to the same thing as the Cone of Cold, like leading his friends into ambushes is something he hates. Like he's done it twice now, and he's not happy about doing it a second time. Especially since this one was arguably more of a disaster. I don't know. Like that's basically the most I can sort of scrape out of this session. It's been very enjoyable, but a bit slower, I think, than other sessions.
It has been quite slow, yes.
But
I think it was a case of people getting back into it and trying to get their heads around a literal tavern that appeared in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't know. It's still been enjoyable.
Yes. Injecting legitimate Forgotten Realms canon into our session.
as well.
Cool, yeah, take your experience. Who else? Petition me for your experience.
Well, I've learned that despair still sucks,
Yep.
and I hate the system so much, and I never want to be in a place again where I have to fucking use it. Because good God, punishing as fuck. And I'm terrified that I'm going to get 10. Just like, I don't know, like ascend to the plane of hell or something. Some terrible shit like that. What else? As Arya, I mean, God, poor girl. She's been through a lot in this realm.
She has.
And I don't know how it's gonna affect her once they get out of here, because good God. She's having to like share all these emotions, stories, and it's,
Who knows, when you get out, you might be a balanced human being.
nah, that's too much. That's too much out of character. But yeah, this tavern thing is like super weird, and it's funny because she knew about the legend, I guess.
Yeah.
Because of the natural 20. So she's just like really fucking weirded out because it's like, I mean, she's seen a lot of shit, but this is kind of like one of. She's also curious about this person who V talked to. What exactly that all means. And I wish she would roll better on the Arcana checks. But she's not. It's fine. Maybe one day we'll learn. Maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah, take your experience. And last but not least.
Well, I was very much confronted today by the struggle of wanting to know something as a player and knowing that Kelariis probably doesn't give as much of a shit as I do.
Oh, really?
So that's fun. I mean, because like I am personally really interested in everything about like the House of Black Lanterns, this weird inn that literally appeared out of nowhere. Kelariis is probably just like, this is fucking weird.
Yep.
I don't think she cares enough to go and ask a lot of questions. As long as things don't seem like immediately dangerous, she's probably just gonna accept most of it for what it is at the moment. But I want to know what the fuck's like what all this is and who people are and all that stuff. But meh, that's fine. You know, I don't know if that's really counts as learning something out of character, but it's a thing.
Yeah. I dropped a couple of hints this session that I was hoping that you might pick up on for something, but I guess we'll see about that after the session.
What?
Okay then. That's a little terrifying, but okay. And I guess in character, it's just the whole Shadowfell taking a toll with despair and seeing everybody else go through it, and then all of it just, it's not great there. And I think she was a lot more gung-ho about going in than she probably should have been. Because, I mean, that's kind of how she is about everything. Like, hey, we'll go in and do the thing and it'll be done. But she's kind of seen that it's more than that in terms of how much everybody's gonna have to kind of power through and endure while they're in the Shadowfell. So, yeah. Also, hitting statues that are not moving is very nice.
Yeah. I was denied my fun boss fight, but it's okay.
It's okay, Rob. You physically and mentally punish us every session of this campaign.
Right?
So.
Indeed.
Oh, by the way, if Vondal hadn't been like, take the hammer, she totally would have just reached in and grabbed the crystal and pulled it out, which probably wouldn't have gone so great. But
It wasn't super bad. You basically would have, if you'd have done it with your hand, you would have taken 2d8.
Oh.
So.
meh. Oh yeah, I guess that's not too bad. But
Still not great.
yeah.
I mean, at
I mean, she
most
would've
that's
probably
8.
been okay. Yeah. So that wouldn't have been too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you may have your experience. And with that, the dusk settles over the House of Black Lanterns, and we bid our party good night. Thank you for playing. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.